my name is Emma Berry, and I'm running for U.S. Representative for the 3rd U.S. Congressional District in Texas. I'm running against a 20-year career politician, Sam Johnson. Today I would like to present my solution for what some call the immigration problem. I prefer to label the problem more correctly. I call it the displaced persons problem that we have here in the United States. Many nations all over the world face this issue of displaced people. People who have been displaced specifically by unfair trade agreements. And that's where our problems began with our own displaced persons issues here in the United States of America. More specifically, it began in 1994 with the passage of NAFTA. Prior to the passage of NAFTA, illegal immigration into the United States of America from Mexico had been stable at about 2 million people for several years. It was not going anywhere. Within 2 years after NAFTA was passed, the problem became quite evident here in the United States. And today, the estimates for the number of displaced persons from Mexico in our nation range from 12 million to 20 million. I suspect the number is probably somewhere towards the middle, maybe 15 million people in this country. 15 million displaced people. Now, that creates a lot of issues, and we all know that. But we're not going to solve the problem unless we address the root cause. And as far as I'm concerned, there are two elements of the root cause for this problem. The first is NAFTA, the unfair trade agreement, and the second are the farm subsidies that we provide for Wall Street corporations, Wall Street agribusinesses. So, in attacking the first part of the problem, NAFTA, the unfair trade agreement, we must immediately renegotiate NAFTA and put the tariffs back in that were there that protected the Mexican corn farmer in the first place. Because you see what happened when, after NAFTA was passed, these tariffs were removed. And that meant that large agribusinesses like ADM and Cargill, which are heavily subsidized by you and me, Mr. and Ms. Taxpayer, they could come in with their low corn prices, and they decimated the Mexican corn farmer who could not compete. The Mexican government does not subsidize their farmers as we do here in the USA. Not farmers, agribusinesses is the correct term. I don't have a problem with farm subsidies as they were originally intended. The original purpose of a farm subsidy was to assist small farmers who still lived on the land that they own. Since that time, there's a huge abuse of the original intent of that bill, and I want that changed. So the second part what happened then, the farmers, the corn farmers, were decimated. And you cannot go into a fragile economy such as that of Mexico and completely obliterate one part of its economy without affecting many other aspects. There were lots of other parts of the economy that depended on the corn farmer for their subsistence. So what happens is it was a domino effect, and it horribly affected the economy of Mexico. And these people, they had no place to go, and they came across the border into our nation. That's what displaced people do. They try to find a way to survive. What happened then? What should we do with the farm subsidies? Well, there's a huge amount of money, $19 billion a year to be exact, $19 billion. I didn't stutter on that one. $19 billion that we give to companies, criminals actually. ADM, by the way, I feel justified in calling a criminal because in 1996 they were convicted of price fixing. The only reason that their CEO and others got out of going to jail was because they turned stool pigeons on the people who were going to fix the prices with them. But they're still criminals. And we still have given them, over the years, since that conviction, billions of dollars. It's absurd, and it should stop. It should have stopped in 1996. I will see that that stops. It's absurd. It's absurd that we give $19 billion of our tax money every year to support Wall Street crooks like ADM and others, when the original intent of that bill was to support small farmers who still live on the land. Right now, of that $19 billion, only $350 million of that $19 billion goes to support small farmers, the original intent for the farm subsidies. It's absurd. So as long as we have this $19 billion, I say let's leave half a billion of it in there to support the small farmers who still live on the land as it was intended. But let's take that other $18.5 billion away from these Wall Street corporations, and let's use it to clean up the mess that they and this poorly negotiated trade agreement called NAFTA have created. One of the things that in the first year of using this $18.5 billion windfall is we could build hospitals. We could build hospitals in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California to help those states assist with the overwhelming health issues that they have in their states because of displaced persons. Now you can say, oh, we can't do that, you know, we're not going to give any money to those people. Well, let me tell you something. If we have displaced people in our nation and they have tuberculosis, that affects all of us. That affects all of us, and it behooves us to take care of them. And especially since it was our government who in the first place created this problem. That is something that is important to remember. We created, or our government, our Congress, created all of the immigration problems that we have today. And it doesn't have anything to do with that they didn't build a fence or any of that nonsense. They created it with the trade agreement, with the unfair trade agreement. And they created it by heavily subsidizing Wall Street corporations like ADM. So this needs to stop. It will take several years to clean up the mess. After all, it's been 16 years in the making. It's not going to be cleaned up overnight. Maybe in the first year we could use the $19 billion to create and staff hospitals in the border states. Then maybe the next year we could use some of that $18.5 billion for some other solution to continue to wipe up the mess that our Congress and its trade agreements have created for our nation. And eventually, after maybe 5 or 6 years, that $19 billion of our tax money that we pay in, maybe we can reduce that, and maybe we can support all of the good things that we create with only $2 or $3 billion, as opposed to $19 billion that today we're forking over to Wall Street crooks. And that's one of my solutions. Thank you.